it is 10 o'clock and I see that we are recording. So let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Obviously, I'm here and Commissioner Wilkins is here. And Commissioner, you were just sharing that Commissioner Weatherall is out with a family health issue this morning, and so she's excused from the meeting today. And so we do have a quorum, and so we'll go into 2.0, which is additions and revisions to the agenda. Do you have anything, Sherry?
I do not.
Okay. Then we'll go into 3.0, which is correspondence and public comment. Individuals wishing to address the county court may do so at this time and at other times throughout the meeting. Speakers are asked to raise your hand to be recognized by the chair, give your name and address, and limit comments to 3 minutes. And I think most folks are on via the Zoom platform, so you're able to raise your hand if you want to do that, and we're pretty informal here for those who are joining us for the first time. I think most of you have been here before. So feel free if you want to now, or you can interrupt us later. And then if you're dialing in, if you just dialed your phone to get here, then to unmute yourself, it's *6 unmutes. But I do not see at this point anybody raising their hand, and so I think we'll go into correspondence. The only thing I have under there is a letter that we received, or that I received from the port on the 17th, which was Monday, again asking about or following up next steps on the joint meeting. They are willing to accept our suggestion that we allow public comments as a component of the meeting, but they really feel that there should be a moderator to facilitate that meeting if we're going to allow public comment. So, I mean, Sherry, I'm wondering I don't think a moderator is necessary, but I don't necessarily have an objection to it if the port really feels like this is something they need to be able to have a productive conversation. I don't know how do you feel about that?
That makes them more comfortable. I think that it's fine. Sure.
Okay. So what I will do is I will go back to them and say, you know, if they wish to have a moderator, that's fine. And then we'll see if we can get some dates that they may be able to make that work. And I will circle back with our legal counsel, and then Teresa can work with the court members to make sure that we find a date that works for everybody.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, consent agenda. Any questions about it?
Let's see, I don't believe I did have any questions. I think it was all pretty much what it is. So I move to accept the consent agenda.
I will second it. It's been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda, which consists of consider approval of August 5th regular meeting minutes, consider approval of USDA APHIS Wildlife Services Agreement, consider approval of Memorandum of Understanding with Eastern Oregon Coordinated Care Association, and consider approval of Amendment Number 1 to the Intergovernmental Agreement Number 5841 with Oregon Department of Corrections. Is there further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on into old business. The first one is 5.1, consider approval of position description for Gilliam County Library Director. So this is just, as you remember, Sherry, last meeting, David Greiner and Mary came to ask if we would bump up the library director's position from 29.5 to 37.5 hours per week. And then it was consensus of the court that we would like to do that. And so this is basically just capturing that change in FTE. And the library board chair did review this too, because we thought it might be a good opportunity if there was anything else they wanted to potentially change, and they were okay with the rest of the language. So the only change we have here is just the FTE.
Okay, that was my question. Did the library board and Mary agree to that. So, okay, sounds good. I move to approve the position description for library director as presented.
I will second that. So it's been moved and seconded to approve the position description for library director as presented. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Item 5.2 is consider approval of position description for public transportation driver. So you probably remember clear back in February, before all the COVID and all this kind of stuff, Marla did her staff update and had talked to us about the possibility of hiring some part-time drivers to help support designated routes in Hermiston and the Dalles. And then this came up again during the budget committee hearings because we ultimately decided to go ahead and put a placeholder with funding for drivers it would be two part-time drivers. So there's funding for those included in the current budget. Both of those positions are funded through the state transportation grants that Marla gets. And so basically, I think what we're looking at is what has happened actually that Marla is coming to us now, even though we don't have the designated routes developed, because of COVID and some of our elderly drivers really not wanting to put themselves at risk. I think Marla's having a hard time finding enough drivers to fit the need. And so she had asked if we might move up the hiring of these drivers so that she's got enough resources to be able to meet the community's need to fulfill trip requests. So basically, Marla and Lisa worked together to draft the attached position description, which would allow them to then begin that recruitment process. The one change I would want to make on this, since we've drafted it, is I actually think we would probably remove under the type, just make it part-time up to 19 hours a week and not do on-call. Because the more we talked about it, the more I think we came to the conclusion that one, it would be difficult to recruit somebody who's not sure what their hours are going to be day to day. And then two, that way Marla's got some stability and flexibility, knows for sure which days she has drivers available. So that would be the only thing looking at it now that I think we might want to just amend just that piece under the type and just strike on call, basically. And so then once the designated transportation routes are up and running, probably next year, realistically, because we're not going to be obviously doing that until after the COVID stuff has passed. And then these drivers will be the individuals that help us make sure that we've got somebody designated to take those routes every week.
So,
any questions?
Did we review this with CIS, or it just a standard type?
It's pretty standard. I mean, so the physical demands, working conditions, those are the things that CIS really wants to make sure that we've got nailed down. And so those are pretty standard language. Obviously, they're a little bit catered depending on the position itself. But this follows the same format that CIS recommends for our position descriptions.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't have any other questions.
So I'll make a motion to approve the position description for a public transportation driver as amended by striking the words on call under type. And that's it.
I second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the position description for public transportation driver as amended, the amendment being to strike the words on call under type. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, so next we will move into new business, and we are up to Waste Management's quarterly report. Leah, are you there?
I am. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Leah Shannon, and I'm with Columbia Ridge Landfill and Chemical Waste Management. I'm the EP manager for both those facilities, and I have our second quarterly report. So Columbia Ridge volumes for second quarter are down 10% versus last year this time, but overall tonnage to date is up by about 4%. And I think we all know that's pretty much because of COVID-19 and the things that have been affected by that. Post fees paid to date have been about $2,179,000 from Columbia Ridge. Chemical Waste Management is really down in volumes. They're about 64% down versus last year at this time, and about 58% down year to date. We have some projects on the horizon. Those projects have pretty much been put on hold due to COVID. Last year we had a large project at this time coming in, which really ramped our volumes up. So we're hopeful that once this passes, whatever this is, that we'll come back online and those projects will start coming in. Safety-wise, we did have 2 incidents in late May at Columbia Ridge. We've done some retraining, and we've been 85 days since that last incident with no incidents or accidents. Chem Waste had a couple in May and June, and none since then. So we're doing good. We're continuing to practice the COVID-19 safety, wearing masks, social distancing, lots of cleaning. I think that it sounds like September 1st, Waste Management is going to kind of review and make some determinations on bringing some folks back into the office, depending on where everything is by September 1st. It may change depending on where we're at. And then I think they're going to reevaluate in October also, but we're still trying to keep those folks home who can work from home. But we have an awful lot of essential employees. We've been very fortunate that we've not had to lay anyone off. We have reduced a few hours down to just keeping everybody at 40, but we're very fortunate that everybody has kept a paycheck. So we feel really good about that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Compliance-wise.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Nope, go ahead, Leah.
Okay. Compliance-wise, we are continuing to work cooperatively with the Oregon regulatory agencies. We almost have the risk analysis done for the waste stream that came in from North Dakota. That will be posted on, once it's completely finished, it'll be posted on a website that the public will be able to access and ask questions and make comments on. We have really, through the risk assessment, what we've learned is the early risk assessment that was done has very much been confirmed that there really is no threat to the landfill workers, the public, or the environment. So that is due to the agency September 1, and it will be available for viewing and comment and questions.
So Leah, I remember when we did the town halls back in February, was it February? So long ago.
Yeah.
And ODO at the time had talked about how the public would be able to weigh in on this report or sort of the findings or mitigation. Is that, I mean, I'm assuming obviously we're not going to be having town halls in this environment, but is that, do you know what that process will look like if the public wants to provide feedback on sort of before that product is finalized?
I think what it is going to look like is these documents are going to be placed on a website that DOE is going to make public. And I think there will be a place in there where there are probably phone numbers that you can call, and there is probably a place where you can enter your comments, questions, that type of thing, and then there will be responses back.
Okay, got it.
So I think that's what it's going to look like, because, you know, otherwise I think we probably would do town halls again because I think that is important. But based on where we're at today, I don't know that that will happen.
Yeah, getting together really isn't an option right now.
I know. It's so hard to do this stuff. So that is ongoing, and we're working very hand in hand with them. It's almost completely completed. It's being reviewed right now one last time. So we feel good about that. Construction projects, we are starting installation of the gondola bridge enclosure. We've pretty much finished on track 5 with the new the bridge clean out area, so that we will really minimize our track out of that area. It looks really nice. They've started assembling the tent that will go over that area. We've started commissioning the new flare that's been installed, and that's going well. Chem Waste projects, we're still working with DEQ and EPA on our Part B renewal. That's sort of an ongoing project. We're getting very close, which is really encouraging since it's been since 2016 that we started this little venture. We are submitting a Class 3 permit mod to add some capacity for treatment, storage, and disposal. All of those components are going to be built to the high environmental safety standards that we always use. And that full permit modification will be submitted to the agency. There will be public notice. It is a Class 3, so there'll be public notice. There will be an opportunity for public comment. I think within that whole process, there's twice that there's opportunity for public comment on that.
Okay.
So that'll be posted. Those meetings will be posted. It'll be in the newspaper, that whole thing. So we'll keep you guys up to date with what's going on with that. Donations and employee engagement. We are going to donate school supplies again with the startup of school. Ashley has gathered up notebooks and crayons and pens and pencils and all kinds of stuff. She's going to take those, and those are going to be given to the staff at the schools, and then the staff will go ahead and distribute them, because Arlington is opening a little bit differently than Condon is opening, so we've kind of got 2 different things going on, but we want to make sure that those kids have the things that they need.
Great.
I think that is kind of all that I have this morning, guys.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Does Waste Management expect any impact to Columbia Ridge from the failure of River Bend to get their expansion?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think it will matter. I don't think it'll make any difference. We might get more volumes. I don't think it'll be huge.
Small thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, I just wanted you maybe to have you speak a little bit about the rumor mill as far as Union Pacific and Watco.
Yes.
Can you give us an update on that?
So what I know about that is, as you know, Union Pacific has a contract with Watco to bring the train up and put it away in the yard. My understanding is that contract renews, I think, effective September 1. And what we're hearing is that portions of that contract are going to change. I believe Watco is going to still be doing repairs and things like that, but I believe UP will be bringing the train up from the river and putting it away in the yard. That's my understanding.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to affect jobs much, if it does at all. I think it'll be all right, but it is a change.
I wasn't, that isn't what I got from the, so I'm glad you clarified that. I was under the impression that Union Pacific had just changed their mind and had given them back the same contract they had before. So
that is not what I'm hearing. Okay. And I kind of checked in to get an update before the meeting because I figured it would come up because I've been hearing the rumor mill too.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Leah.
You guys, if I assume you have noticed that we are putting our little blurbs in the newspaper with trying to get our community partnership going. And we are doing the 4-H auction stuff too this year. We will be contributing to the virtual auction, whatever that looks like too. It's a little bit different also. So we're trying to do those things.
Are you going to donate to each participant like you've done in the past, or make a donation to the pool, or actually purchase an animal? What's it look like this year?
I've made a couple of different suggestions that maybe will look a little bit different this year. I haven't gotten the approval from the powers that be, but I have made a couple of suggestions that we do it a little bit differently.
Okay.
So.
Great. Any other questions for Leah, Sherry?
I don't. Thank you, Leah.
You're welcome.
How about before we let you go, Leah, since we've got quite a few in the public, anybody from the public that would like to ask any questions while we've got waste management here? I'm not seeing any.
Judge Farrar, this is Les Ruark. May I ask a question of the court, please?
Of course.
As I understand the last meeting of the court, it was the expectation that at this meeting, senior management from the company would be joining in the conversation, not only of the quarterly report, but of the other 2 or 3 matters that had been discussed at the court's table last meeting. So my question is, where's the senior management this time around?
So thanks for asking, actually, so we can provide that clarity. Yeah, we did reach out. I did reach out to Dave Lowe after the last meeting. I think he had a conflict this morning, but we are hoping to have him actually join us on the September 2nd meeting to discuss the donations. And then I think Sherry had some questions that she had wanted to ask. So that's been my conversation back and forth with him. And so my hope and anticipation is that he will be joining us during the next meeting.
Okay, can I ask a follow-up?
Of course.
Is it just Dave singularly that you're thinking of as senior management, or would there be maybe 1 or 2 others? And of course, Leah, this is said with all due respect to your good participation, as I understand the court's feeling, and certainly is mine too, that in this instance, with the subject matter involved, there needs to be a little bit higher up participation on the company's part. But having said all that, Judge, how are you looking at the senior management? Is it more than just one person?
So in my communication with Dave, I left that somewhat open to him in terms of who he thought was appropriate to bring, unless Commissioner Wilkins has somebody specific she would like to be at the meeting. I basically just said that a request was being made from the county court for senior management that we would like for him and anybody else that's part of that senior management team that needs to be at the table for that discussion to please join us. So I didn't name specific names besides making the request that Dave be part of that discussion, as well as whoever else was most appropriate. And I don't know, Sherry, if you had anybody in particular that you thought who else should be at that table.
No, I understand that Leah's been asked to get some of that information together for us for next meeting, so I know she's working on that.
Yep, and he did try to get out of his meeting today, but he was not able to, and he is planning on being at the next meeting.
Great.
Great. Any other follow-up questions for Leah or for the court regarding waste management? Did we get all your questions, Les?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Leah. I think that's all we've got for you. All right. Let's move on to 6.2, which is consider donation to Gilliam County Auction Committee. So this is something we do annually. The auction committee is requesting donations to support the Gilliam County Livestock Auction, which Leah just made reference to. Auction is scheduled for September 5th, 2020. Historically, we have made a $400 donation to the pool. And so the recommendation here is that we continue to do that. There's a donations line item in the county court's budget that it normally comes out of. So, and again, as Leah mentioned and as Chris Fitz has said to us before as that the plan is to do a virtual kind of a different format for how they're doing the auction this year. So, you okay with it, Sherry?
I am, and I would move to approve $400 donation to the Gilliam County Auction Committee for the 2020 Gilliam County Livestock Auction, with the funds to come from the county court's donation line item.
I would second it. So it's been moved and seconded that we approve a $400 donation to the Gilliam County Auction Committee for the 2020 Gilliam County Livestock Auction, funds to come from the county court's donations line item. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. All right, let me just get my papers kind of organized here. So we'll move into 6.3, consider approval of resolution number R 2020-24, a resolution to cancel old and uncollectible personal property taxes per ORS 311.790. So basically, and I see Kelly's on here as well, so I will kind of do the overview, and then Kelly, if I miss anything, you can jump in and enlighten us more. But basically, the statute allows that if the tax collector and the DA for any county determines that taxes on personal property are delinquent and are uncollectible for any reason, then a request can be made to order and direct that the taxes be canceled. And so our tax collector and DA have determined that taxes on personal property accounts for the personal property for the accounts listed in this summary are wholly uncollectible and are requesting us to authorize and direct that the taxes be canceled. So this will allow them to clean up the tax roll, the county books. Total financial impact will be $3,392.61. And so the tax collector is requesting that we approve the resolution. Kelly, did I miss anything?
I do have one thing to add that I noticed this morning in my final check. The title of the resolution says for tax years 2011 through 2015, and it's actually through 2019. So we'll
okay.
That, and then a little lower down in the resolution, it again lists the years 2011 through 2015.
Okay, so those should both be 19.
Yes, the two manufactured structures that were destroyed are taxes through 2019. But other than that, I think you covered it pretty good. Does anybody have any more questions?
I just had one question. I could see what was going on with the first three, but I wasn't. I just had a question about New Life Metals.
Okay.
John Torgerson's no longer in business, or?
Yes, they went out of business in Gilliam County for sure. It's my understanding that they may have moved some of their personal property and business to another county, but we have no recourse to seize property to pay off the debt.
Okay.
So there's no way to collect on it?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that was my question.
So if you're ready, Sherry, I would move to approve resolution R 2020-24 as amended, the amendments being to change the references from 2015 and make those 2019. That would be both in the title and in number 1 below.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve resolution R 2020-24 as amended. The amendments being to change the references from 2015 and make those 2019. That is both in the title and then in section number 1. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So we'll get that one fixed, and then we will move on to Community Counseling Solutions Report. Kimberly. We'll see. We'll give her a second to unmute and put on her video. Good morning.
Morning.
The floor is yours. Take it away.
All right. I was trying to think when I was there last. I don't know, February maybe. Whatever.
Pre-COVID, huh?
Yeah. Trying to think of something creative besides pre-COVID and after COVID. It's funny how we define our life by events. So like we have our birth date and Christmas, but often we'll find ourselves saying, well, was that before Jenny was born or after, or before Grandpa Buck died or after? And before Elvis died, that's what my mom will say. It was like, was it before Elvis died? Or anyway, she could tell you right where she was when Elvis died. She was at the stoplight at Jerry's in Eugene. And so we'll be, we have a new, marker in all of our timelines, like Kennedy and the Space Shuttle Columbia and yada, yada, yada. And now we have COVID. Was it before or after COVID? So there's a little psychology for you this morning. So I have a number of items. I don't know how long I have on your agenda, but I don't want to take tons of time. But a lot has happened, and I want to keep you abreast of things that we've been working on at CCS, things that have happened to us or things that we've done. So I sent Teresa kind of an order, and I'll stick to that. The first item is emergency board funding. The emergency board met, when did they meet? Early June, maybe? And they allocated several $1 million to community mental health programs to address populations that had been disproportionately affected by COVID, specific to behavioral health needs, or addressing behavioral health needs. The first document that I sent, and only document that I sent regarding this, is the breakdown of funding by county. They indicated that a minimum amount needed to be provided. So if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see that the minimum amount was $100,000. That did get changed to $75,000. And those amendments are supposed to be coming out today, I believe. It was 2 weeks ago, and then it was last Friday, and the updated date is today. So I should be seeing that today for Gilliam County, and I'll be signing that for $75,000. Again, there were parameters. I gave kind of the overarching parameter, and then the state sent out some guidelines on how those dollars could be spent. It could be spent around training, curriculum for staff. Oh, and I forgot to state that, so 75% was on individuals, populations that had been disproportionately affected. Specifically, to be clear, it was BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color. Yeah. And seniors. So we know that seniors have been significantly impacted, just often because, especially in the assisted living facilities, they are shut in. So what CCS decided to do with the funds was to hire a full-time LCSW to work closely with our senior populations, especially the seniors in the assisted living facilities, and just do more preventative work, hopefully, but some in response to work around behavioral health issues. We're also updating our curriculum to be a custom curriculum for the racial inequity issues that were required by the state. specific to CCS. And we will be doing some in-house training for staff around racial inequity. That left 25,000 in Gilliam County to spend. And so I contacted, I'm gonna draw a blank on her name, the gal who's the interim at she took Terry Tollifer's position. Is that North Central Public Health District? I think so.
Yeah, it is.
And I apologize, I can't remember her name. I contacted her and had a thought for her. I said, I'd like to give you about 25,000 to use for contact tracing in Gilliam County. However you want to spend it, and maybe talk with your North Central Public Health District Board, because that's probably their decision on how you spend it, because they don't need to hire a new contact tracer for Gilliam County with these funds. But what I'm wanting them to do with every contact trace, every person under monitoring, every person who gets contacted to do isolation, I want them to do what's called the PHQ-2. The PHQ-2 is a brief screening tool that has been empirically validated, demonstrated to work as an effective screening tool for depression. So we know that while this is a public health pandemic, we know that the mental health issues are close on the heels. Anytime you impact the economy, you're going to impact depression, and you're also impacting suicide rates. So we see a spike, already seeing spikes in depression around within certain populations, and one is youth, which I'm always pretty candid. It's always a little bit concerning for me in Gilliam County. And right now the CDC is, a lot looking at that for the social isolation that the youth are experiencing. So fortunately, we haven't seen within the 4 counties that CCS serves, we haven't maybe seen a spike. Sorry, I'm kind of looking all around here for the right language, but there was a youth suicide in Gilliam County. And it's hard to rule COVID out, or the effects of COVID out for that. In fact, generally, we've ruled them in, and we've had an adult suicide in Grant County that was very attributable to the side effects of COVID, the economic impact and not being able to see family. So the PHQ-2 is a screening that would be done at the end of the initial contact. It would be voluntary. We can't make it mandatory. We would ask the individual if they are, North Central Public Health District contact tracers would ask the individual if they were willing to answer the 2 questions. It's a scale of 1 to 3, 0 to 3 for the 2 questions. If they score, if their score is concerning, then they would refer the individual to services or supports. And that could be anywhere, doesn't need to be CCS, but we'll make sure that they have all the information for area providers, obviously including the DALs, Sherman County. And it's not just behavioral health. I mean, maybe they are more interested in a medication to assist with depression. So it also would be primary care providers as well. They have to take a $30 online training. You've heard me talk about QPR, question, persuade, refer. I gave you an update on that relative to zero suicide. It very much aligns with CCS's zero suicides efforts, of which we've adopted QPR, question, persuade, refer, again for both our staff and encouraging it in the general population. It's a great tool to use when somebody conveys at the grocery store, life's just hard, I'm not sure it's worth living right now. A lot of people don't feel that, they kind of sidestep the question or the statement, they make a joke of it or make light of it. They don't feel that they're qualified to have the conversation. We know that a lot of suicides are a little bit impulsive, you know, within 48 hours of a significant event, and those are missed opportunities, not to make anybody feel bad, but wanting to give people the skills to do that. So the contact tracers would take the training, they would have a script, they'd have the information on making the referral, and then on or around the date of the last contact, they would check in with the individual and ask them if they were able to follow up. No coercion, you know, just a friendly follow-up. Were you know, do you have any questions? Were you able to make an appointment? So, questions on the emergency board funding, comments or concerns, or especially any comments or concerns around the 25,000, and then wanting, I don't know if it's Judge Farrar that's on, I can't remember how the North Central Public Health District Board is set up, but wanted you guys to also know that for following that 25,000, not that, just so that you're aware it's there. Hardly ever does public health get free money. And this is money that can be used however they want. Maybe they want to buy an Abbott rabbit testing machine to have at their facility. Or they want to give staff a gift card. You know, it really is dollars that they can take and put wherever they want.
Yeah, Commissioner Weatherall is on that board, and so I think maybe even just following up with her, Kimberly, after, since she's not on today's meeting, because I'm sure, I mean, depending on what you're hearing back from them, it sounds, I don't know why they wouldn't be on board for taking that and doing something positive with it.
Yeah, they are on board, and they asked us to draft the contract. So they were very excited.
Great.
So did you want me to follow up with Commissioner Weatherall?
I think that would be great if you don't mind, just so that she's got all the information. If I try to translate it, I'll screw something up. So.
Yep, no problem. I have her cell phone number, so I'll give her a call. Okay. The next item was the FEMA application. So you know what FEMA is. They contacted all of the states and said, we have funding that we would make available to you and your community mental health programs around reaching out to the general population as a whole and ensuring that people have the services and supports that they need that have been impacted by COVID. So not specific to behavioral health, although it does have a behavioral health bent, clearly, when they're reaching out to the CMHPs. So Oregon sent out an email saying, if you're interested as a CMHP, please let us know. There were about 7 CMHPs who have, like, well, I don't know who all started, but there's about 7 of us left who have made it through. I feel like we sacrificed our firstborn child. Good thing my kids are raised to get included and still be involved. So we're really pleased that we are still involved. We're in the very final stages of this. It looks like we're going to get approved. We will be hiring 6 people. They have to work in pairs, and they literally pound the streets. 2 for Morrow, 2 for Grant, and 2 for Wheeler and Gilliam. Wheeler and Gilliam weren't large enough, according to the feds, to have 2 for each county, that will be going out and checking in with people and giving them information on services and support. So the first document at the top, it says Crisis Counseling Program Brief. It looks like this. It's like, you can't see with my background very well, but it's a couple pages long. I can go into more detail with you if you would like on that, but it identifies who will be hired. It does include 1 team lead. There's a lot of travel in there. The next document is Oh, I guess like just an org chart. You can't. I gotta take this background off if I'm gonna try to show you pages. So looks like this, and it's what that would look like if we get approved. Any questions on that? It's 10 months long. The funding is about 10 months long. And if approved, we'll start to advertise right away.
Great. Yeah, I don't have any. Sherry, do you?
I don't.
Okay. The next document, Senate Bill 424. This was passed last year. It's very brief. It was passed last year by the legislature that mandates a mental health wellness policy for each law enforcement organization in Oregon. We wanted to be proactive and be a resource, so we put together, and I apologize because I didn't send it to you, we put together an officer wellness program that the different law enforcement agencies could avail of at no cost, no charge to them, that includes a qualified mental health professional, a coordinator, and training as needed, both for the staff. And then it also includes what we've already been doing, which is the critical incident debriefing whenever requested by any first responder organization in our 4 counties. And we've done it for some other counties. I also sent out an MOU if they wanted to do that. So wanted to let you know that the Gilliam County Sheriff's Office has signed up for that and is actively pursuing that. And we've been doing some work with them already so that they can meet the requirements and be in compliance with the Officer Wellness Program. Any questions on that?
That's great.
I'll keep going. One of the things, I probably put these next 2 items in the wrong order. We met and developed some COVID strategic objectives. I think we were pretty nimble and we set that in place in April. So I'll circle back to that. Part of that was wanting to be responsive to our first responders, not just law enforcement, but medical, dispatchers, paramedics, fire, who have been impacted by COVID, but it doesn't have to be specifically related to COVID. Basically, we put together something akin to an employee assistance program for them, and that we called it the Frontline Program. You have the brochure and the handouts on that. They get basically free counseling and screening sessions, a certain number for the duration of this pandemic. They're provided information with where to call. We've had about 12 individuals access this. And I don't know how many people, if any, from Gilliam County. I do know that there have been some from Morrow and some from Grant. The response, even if they haven't accessed it, has been very positive. As I sent information out, the same 2 flyers and brochures that you guys received, I think I sent out about 94 emails to all of our different first responders in our 4 counties. I bet half of them responded with, it might just have been 1 sentence, or it could have been a full paragraph on what a needed resource this was, and thank you. So the response has been great. Any questions on that?
No, it's wonderful. When do you have time to sleep, Kimberly?
I have a great team. I have a really very good. Some of them, Lisa Helms, can't go on, can't say enough about her. Mary Helen Peterson, school-based counselors down there, excellent. I might push them a little bit. I'll admit to that. Okay, so we put together what I call the COVID strategic plan. I won't go through this word for word or even page by page. I don't know how many pages long it is. But we really wanted to be responsive to our staff as well as to the people that we're serving. And we put this together. We worked on it the first 2 or 3 weeks in April, And it was a fluid functioning document the last week in April. So you see that there's like some agency objectives there that where we wanted to be looking inward at employees and their well-being. And then after that, we were looking a little bit more outward, or at least specific to programs. So we have the clinical outpatient objectives. That would include Lisa and Mary Helen's program. Lakeview Heights is our residential treatment facility in Heppner, addressing the needs of the customers that reside there. Developmental disabilities, that is in all 4 counties, although the personnel for those programs are in Heppner, in Grant County, and Lake County. Juniper Ridge is our secure psychiatric acute care facility in John Day. Foster grandparent is our well, they're based in Pendleton, but they provide the FGPSC program for all of Eastern and Central Oregon. The Warm Line, you're hopefully maybe familiar with that. It's the statewide call-in line, not crisis, but Warm Line for people that would like to talk to somebody. And then health department, primary care, and billing. So if you have any questions on that, happy to answer those, or if you're reading it might be good bedtime reading in the evening. Many of those tasks have already been completed, but there are some that are ongoing because the pandemic is ongoing, and we've thought about updating them. I decided to give the staff a bit of a break because I think that they've worked exceptionally hard the spring and into the summer. So we might update that document in early fall to take us through for maybe another 6 months. The Developmental Disability Customer Satisfaction Survey, we have a state site review every 2 years. As a part of that, we send out a satisfaction survey to every individual enrolled in DD services in every county. It's voluntary. There is a gift card. So if they complete it and they're given another page to send their name in. Actually, we wouldn't even know if they complete it. So they send their survey to one place and they send their name and information to another. That gets entered for a $50 or maybe it's a $100 gift card for every county. There are probably about 15 individuals that are enrolled in DD services in Gilliam County. That's just a good guess, decent guess. 4 people returned. So I say 15, but that's including services that include brokerage. Let me back up on that. And we don't see the brokerage clients, they go through the brokerage service, but they still show up on our numbers. So there are 3 that are receiving more comprehensive services. They were all sent out and 1 was returned. So you can see how they felt about their services that they were receiving in Gilliam County. I included all of the county surveys, so you can look through that. And then there's, of course, the one in there from Gilliam. So I try to share that with you. I mean, I think I have shared it every time we've had a state site review. And I'll be forwarding the results of the site review to Teresa, and she can forward it out to everybody. So I send the results of all of the state reviews. We have 2, the DD site review and the addictions and mental health site review. And I'm trying to remember, I think our last addictions and mental health site review, that's every 3 years. And I think that that was about 2 or 2.5 years ago. So it's probably coming up. I think Judge Farrar, maybe like I went over it right at the beginning. It seems like it was, I think that when
I think that's right. Yeah, that was all a blur though back then. I can use a refresher.
I'll go through the document with you. It's 15 or 20 pages when it happens.
Perfect.
The next one is the newsletter. We send this out quarterly. We just sent it out, so it's kind of on my mind. I thought you might like to see some of the things that we've been doing. There's the employee highlight. There's me with a with a pot of flowers on my head. I may or may not be a pothead, haha. We tried to do some fun things when we were mostly working from home. So we had virtual lunch hours. Any staff could join in that wanted. And you could wear, we encouraged people to wear funny hats. So that was one of my funny hats. So if you have a moment, again, read through that. I'm kind of proud of our newsletter. And that takes us to my last item, zero suicide. You might be bored with this, but I give you an update on our zero suicide initiative every time I meet. It's near and dear to my heart. It's important to us, and it's the right thing to do because hopefully it will bleed over just a little bit into your conversations or keep it a little bit more elevated in your mind as you're thinking about the social, emotional health of the citizens in Gilliam County. So the timeline, I think I shared this with you last time, I can't recall, but we had to make just a few modifications, not because our zero suicide work slowed down, but because some of the training that we wanted to have occur this spring and early summer couldn't occur due to the limits on the number of people that could gather. So we had to move our applied or assessing and managing suicide risk, AMSR, that's one of the blue squares. We had to move that back to accommodate the changes in the gathering size. That was completed for all of the staff. All the clinical staff were trained in AMSR, and the train the trainers is happening. Actually, it's going to happen in September. All of the policies and procedures for each department, every department now has something on zero suicide, even if it's just the business department, because those individuals are interacting with our customers as they come in. And we don't, again, want there to be any missed opportunities for anyone. We're in the process of updating. The word on here is redo. It really should be changed to just update the organizational study. We do that every year just to look and see what progress we have made on our work on zero suicide. One of the things that the committee wanted to do, the leadership team wanted to do, zero suicide leadership team, which is made up of folks from, we have one board member and then all programs and all staff, including our maintenance person. So just you know, a broad swath of CCS. We wanted to see if the counties would be willing to take the zero suicide pledge or sign on to it. And what it means for you is you're just stating that you agree with it, that it's important to you, and you're supporting the work that CCS is engaging in. And that if you have an opportunity to share about the work or to share about zero suicide, that you would avail of that. That's it. You have the document in front of you, so I won't go over it word for word. Grant and Morrow have signed. My intent is to talk with Wheeler County and see if I could get them to sign. Once I have, assuming that I get everybody's signatures, I don't want to shame anyone if I don't have it on there. I want to put it on our website. And I'd like to reach out to the media outlets in each of those counties and let them know a little bit more about the zero suicide work and highlight that the county has signed the zero suicide pledge and just publicize that a little bit. So I wanted to put the document in front of you, see if you had any questions or concerns, and if you didn't, if you might be willing to sign it and ultimately send it back to me.
I read it. I didn't have any concerns. I mean, I think we could probably on during our next meeting, since Commissioner Weatherall isn't here, just put it on the agenda and have a official motion on it if there's no objections from the other court members.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I'd like to see it on there.
I think we're on board, Kimberly.
We are on board.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do. It's amazing the work you do.
Yeah. Every time I talk to you, you're doing something new, and it's just such a tremendous resource for the community. So thank you for that.
Well, you're very welcome, and thanks for your support and giving us, the freedom to hopefully do, a lot of good things. Not everything that we do is great, and there's a lot of okay things, and we do have our warts. There's things that we're working on. Absolutely, I could list those too. But given that we don't have all day, I tried to bring forward some of the highlights. Rest assured, there's nothing bad. We're not being sued by anyone. We don't have any customer complaints. I don't have any employees that are pissed off. In fact, I think most of the employees are pretty content right now. But I forgot to turn in a purchase order the other day. It's that kind of stuff.
So Sherry, do you have any questions for Kimberly?
I don't think I do. I, again, appreciate the work you do and what you do for our counties.
Thank you. I appreciate all of you. It takes a community to do good things, I think, at all levels. So thank you for your support. If you have any questions, let me know. I will reach out to Commissioner Weatherall about the public health funds, and I'll check in with you maybe in 3 or 4 weeks on the Zero Suicide Pledge if I haven't seen anything back, if that's all right.
That works great. Yeah, we'll have it. We meet next on September 2nd. So my intention would be to put it on that. And, that way Leslie can weigh in too, and then we'll get you something back.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Thanks, Kimberly. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so we are down to 6.5, which is consider approval of road department request to issue final payment for 2015 Caterpillar front end loader. So when I first put this on the agenda, I thought we were actually going to need to make a motion, but I think this is more of an FYI. I see Dewey's on the phone or the line as well. And so, Dewey, I'll just summarize this, and if I miss anything and you jump in and correct me. So basically back in 2016, the county court and together with the roadmaster made the decision to purchase the 2015 Caterpillar 966M front end loader as equipment at the crusher site. When they made the decision to purchase, at that time they made the decision to purchase and keep the loader for a longer time frame. They made 4 payments, or we've made 4 payments of $44,500. And now there's a balloon payment due on September 30th of $757.92. So I think it sounds like Dewey's planning on keeping the loader for another 4 to 5 years before replacing. And so he'd like to go ahead and pay off the note with Bank of EO coming out of the road equipment replacement fund, which has a healthy balance of just over $1 million. So, I mean, my read on this is that if this was something the previous court already signed an agreement on and that balloon payment is due, that it's not anything that we actually need to take action on. So I think it's mostly just an FYI. But Dewey, did I miss anything, or did I get it? If you hit *6, Dewey, you can unmute yourself, or maybe Lisa or Teresa could unmute Dewey.
Am I there now?
You're here.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out this technology thing. Not working very well. No, I have nothing else to add.
So
I was just trying to bring it up so that it wasn't a big surprise for the big payment coming out at the end of next month.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, sounds great to me. Thank you for bringing it, though. So I think that's great, too, for the public to know kind of where you are with it. So
Good.
Thank you, Dewey.
You bet. Thank you very much.
have a great day.
All right. Bye now.
Bye. All right. So I think we move on to 7.0, which is announcements and next meeting. So couple of things for announcements. Obviously, the next meeting is September 2nd. Again, we'll probably be doing that on Zoom. I don't foresee the virus subsiding before then, unfortunately. The City County Fiber Council has a meeting scheduled for tomorrow afternoon, Thursday at 4 o'clock, and that'll be at the Memorial Hall, but I think Catherine is also putting together a Zoom or has a Zoom option. So for folks who are listening in who would like that Zoom option, I think Catherine's got that information. And then just a reminder that the SWOT analysis for our strategic planning process is due back to Lisa this Friday, if you can, Sherry.
Right. Yes, I'm working on it.
Do you have any upcoming meetings or things, announcements?
I do. I have NORCOR board meeting tomorrow morning at 10. We will be doing that virtually. And then glancing at my calendar, I believe we have ECAN on Friday morning. And I am having a personal meeting with the CAPCO team next Tuesday afternoon to bring me kind of up to speed and introduce me to the staff as a new board member. And then that Friday the 28th, I have CAPCO.
Exciting.
Yeah, and I've been working with Lisa on some of the policies, and we're working together on some things going on at Shuttler Station and the Grain Lab. So we've been working.
Yay. Well, and so just some previews, Sherry, for you and then for the public on things I'm anticipating coming up before the court in the next couple of months. We're going to see a lot of policies being churned out. Our employee handbook is currently sitting with the elected officials for review. So hopefully we'll have that sort of pop out probably next month sometime, and a ton of other policies that frankly the county should have had in place probably years ago and just never got around to doing. And so we're getting those done, which I'm excited about. The city has reached out to us because the intergovernmental agreement for the swimming pool is expiring next month. So Catherine and I have gone back and forth on a draft that's basically the same. It would extend it by 3 years. The city did ask if we would be willing to increase the funding limit. Currently it's at 50, and they're just almost hitting that right now. And so assuming with any minimum wage increases or things like that, they may need a little bit more cushion. So they asked if we may be willing to go up to 60. So that will be on the next agenda for us to take a look at and discuss. The Economic Enhancement Ordinance, there's an internal review happening right now with me and the assessor and the treasurer's office to just take a look at that. There were some things just administratively. I'm not anticipating that we would be making changes to allocations or anything like that. But Chet had some areas where he needed some clarification from the court on homestead rebate policy. And then I think both Kelly and Nathan had identified some areas where the previous court, when they updated it, there's some places where where the numbers don't match, if that makes sense. So they updated it in one place but not in the other. And so we'll probably just look at cleaning up some of the administrative typos and things like that in it, since my hope is that we can give some clarity to Chet's office on some of the homestead questions that he had. So that requires a hearing and a bunch of other stuff. So I will kind of come back to the court with a plan for when we would take that up and what that would look like. Let me see, what else? I also am anticipating that the air-based road project will be coming back up for discussion. I'm having a meeting with Barnett's, I think, next week, just to talk about some ideas with them about maybe looking at them committing to doing some housing development at the airbase in exchange for the county repairing the road, basically. So I want to, they haven't gotten back to me on whether they think that's a good idea or not, but I'm going to sort of have an initial conversation with them, and then I'm planning on bringing that back to the court so we can kind of discuss where we'd like to go with that, and what everybody's feelings are. And then the other thing, just as a heads up, is that I'm also planning on sort of accelerating the discussion on the grants program for next year. Normally we would do this late, like December, January, early. For those who have not heard yet, I will be having a baby in December. And so I want to make sure that this gets wrapped up before I go on maternity leave, so that our organizations have clarity on when the deadlines are and what that would look like. So I'll put together a schedule. I think we'll probably do work sessions like we did before. I'm assuming, I mean, every year I think we get a little bit closer to the final product kind of thing. So I'm not anticipating it would be necessarily a whole lot of work sessions. I think we could probably knock it out in one and just tinker with anything that needs to be fixed. So other than that, that's all that's going on over here. Not much. Anything else, Sherry, for the good of the order?
I don't think so today.
All right, public, any last questions or comments before we drop off? If not, it is 11:12, and I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.